Dr. Ross, I understand that you teach that the flood was a local, not a global event, but you also teach that it killed all the people outside of the ark. But I'm wondering if you could comment on, Davis Young points out that Genesis 4 speaks of agriculture and musical instruments and metal tools before the flood. And so, but he says according to the archaeological evidence that people like the Australian Aboriginals and Native Americans were spread out around the globe before they developed this metal technology, agriculture, etc. So how do you account for this?
Okay, you're right. Genesis 4 does talk about metallurgy and agriculture. I mean, all the way back to the time of Cain and Abel. But we're talking about agriculture and technology at a low population level. I mean, you've only got a few people alive at that time. And in order to get archaeological remains of agricultural practices and technology, you need a large population and you need extensive manufacturing and agricultural activity. And the first instance we have for that is like 22,000 years ago. The first really dramatic evidence is in northwest Mesopotamia 10,000 years ago, where we see towns and transportation, animal husbandry, and a wide-scale wheat cultivation. But that's because you now have a large population, whereas before the flood, the population would have been too small to leave significant archaeological remains. And yeah, you are accurate. We do take the position that the flood, though universal, wiping out all of humanity, the Genesis flood, was local in extent, mainly because the human population had not yet migrated over the whole face of the earth. And you see that in Genesis chapter 11, that God actually deals with humanity for their failure to multiply and fill the earth, and winds up intervening to scatter humanity over the face of the earth. And you can calibrate the Genesis 11 genealogy and get a rough date for when that took place, and it's compatible with the best scientific dates we have for the first spread of humanity over the face of the earth. And I'll give you 5 Bible texts you can go to. Remember 20 creation accounts. Psalm 33, Psalm 104, Job 38, Proverbs 8, and then 2 Peter 3. Those are 5 passages outside of Genesis that tell us the flood must be local rather than global in extent. Particularly Psalm 104 reviews the 6 creation days, and when it talks about the 3rd day, when God for the first time forms continents in addition to the oceans, and it tells us right in that context, never again will the waters cover the whole face of the earth. So it tells us the flood of Noah cannot be global in extent. And then you've got 4 other passages that repeat that claim.